Are you ready for part 5? We are so close, you guys. We are almost there. Just a couple, maybe a few more stuff, not just a couple. We'll finish this bag. I hope you were well rested last night and are ready for this day, okay? I'm very excited about this because this is the fun now, you guys. This is where you see all your hard work come together. All right, enough talking. Let's get started. The first step is to attach all these D-rings we made to all the right panels. Here I have our 3 D-rings. If you got the medium side of the Caroline kits, there will only be 2 D-rings, so you don't have to worry about, and you will only need this piece and this piece for the steps. If you got the side large, you want to grab both the exterior panel, the 3 D-rings, and the interior lining with the slip pockets. Grab one of your D-ring and a rulers. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure about 1.5 inches inner from the right side. Mark with a pencil or something that is erasable so that it's not visible. And then you want to put your D-ring so that it's aligned with the top edges of the exterior panel. Now clip this D-ring in place. Repeat the same steps for the other exterior panel. If you have the large side of the Caroline bag, grab the interior lining with the slip pocket, and what you will do is put the D-ring along the edge of the slip pocket top. Now we're going to take all these 3 pieces to the sewing machines, and we're going to sew at 1/4 inch seam allowance for all 3. Since we will be going through many thick layers for this part, I just kept my needle at size 21. Size 18 sure works. I just feel like size 21 works better. So try to stick with a thicker needle than a size 16 if you can. Another tip I have here is that try to backstitch and stitch over the D-ring parts at least twice, because this is where we will clip the strap to the bag. So extra stitching over this part helps secure this in place better. Another tip I have here is that if your sewing machines has a difficult time going from a low point to a higher point, which is right here, then I suggest you get this tool, the bulk sewing seam tool. Since we're going from a low point to a high point, I usually manually lower my needle first in place, then I will sew over. Then I also will go backwards. Now, if your machine struggles just going through without going backwards, what you can do is just lower your needle, rotate this, and sew forward again so that you could double stitch this part in place. The reason I say that is because sometimes going backwards is actually more difficult for the sewing machines that I have learned. So I like to do it this way just to make it easier on my sewing machines. Although by doing this, it is a lot harder to control your fabric if you're not used to controlling it via this side. So with a roller foot, it's naturally will feed the pieces through. And again, it does struggle sometimes, so just help your sewing machines a little bit. My sewing machine is not industrial, so if I can do it on this vintage, I don't know how old, 50 years old sewing machine, then you can do it too. And if there's any points that is a little difficult, just manually turn your hand wheel. I'm going to backstitch just to lock in the thread. I'm going to continue doing the rest of the piece, and then we move on to the next step. Okay, all the 3 D-rings are now attached. Before we move on to the next step, let's make sure all our panels, both the exterior and both the interior panels, are marked at the top center point, because that's how we're going to align each of this piece. So if you can see here, this 2 has already been marked, okay, from previous steps. So we're going to go ahead and mark this 2, which has not been marked. Once you did that, set the interior panel aside. We worry about that later. Now we are going to mark a horizontal line 1/4 inch below the top edge of the exterior panel. And we're going to do it for both panels. I'm going to use a pen so that you can see where I mark. The way how I usually mark this is I usually go and mark the 1/4 points below each top edge. Then I'm going to take my ruler, and where I mark, I'm going to align my ruler so it's perfectly straight. And then I'm going to go ahead and mark across. And if you do your seam correctly here, the 1/4 inch line should go across that sewn seam you just did. Now grab your zipper. You know what? I forgot to mark the center point on my zipper. So let me do that quickly. I'm supposed to do it in the previous steps, but I forgot. That is not a problem. Easy fix. And for a zipper, I try to make the triangle very tiny because you don't want to see that triangle cut out. All right. We're going to grab the side of the exterior panel that does not have a back zipper pocket, okay? This is the front of the bag. Now you're going to place the zipper right side down, aligning the center points like this. Align the center points on the line you just draw. The zipper tab should be roughly about 1/2 inch inward because that will be our seam allowance later. If you are a right-handed person, your zipper slider in a closed position should be facing the right side. Now, if you are a left-hand person, take the zipper and rotate it so that the slider in a closed position is on the left side. I'm a right-handed person, so I am going to keep the zipper on the right side, secure in place. We're going to take this to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew a horizontal line to secure the zipper in place at 1/2 inch seam allowance from this top edge. Since we're sewing with zipper, I want to show you how to get close to the zipper teeth with a zipper foot. You could definitely sew it with the same foot you've been using so far. But for demonstration purpose, and I want to show you in case you really want to use your zipper foot, notice how the edge of my zipper foot is right against the zipper teeth. That makes sure that when you sew, it's on an even surface. Now, as you get closer to the slider, lower your needle halfway so that it holds down your fabric, and then slide the slider away from the needle. Sometimes you have to raise the pressure foot up to do this. Once you get closer to the D-ring tabs, go slowly, and if you're using a walking foot, you don't have to worry about this part. But since I'm using a zipper foot, it doesn't feed the fabric through. It has a hard time going from the low point to the high points. I'm going to try to use that tool I showed you earlier. This tool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise the zipper foot up. And I'm going to lower. Go slowly as you go over the D-ring. When it drops from the high point to the low point, it might struggle a little bit. So you could also use it on this side to make the sewing surface more even for the sewing machine. But for mine, it doesn't look like it's going to struggle, so I'm just going to go ahead and use it without the tool. Once you install the zipper, Grab the interior lining without the slip pocket and place it over the zipper. So since I'm going to start sewing from this corner, I'm going to go ahead and move the slider ahead of time, because when I sew to this corner, I'm going to move the slider back. Now I'm going to align it against the top edge of the exterior panel. If you prefer to have your slip pocket towards the front of the bag, you can put the panel with the slip pocket for these steps instead of the one without the slip pockets. The Caroline bag is designed with the slip pocket towards the back of the bag. So I leave that up to you. I like it towards the back of the bag, then secure it in place. Now take it to the sewing machine and sew a horizontal line across at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now take this piece and flip it over so that the interior panel is behind the exterior panel. Try to flatten it and cause a crease. Align the bottom corners. Now take it to the sewing machines and do a horizontal line across like this at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. The D-ring should face upwards. Now you have this piece. What you would do next is grab the back exterior panel, take the front exterior panel, flip it over so that the right side of the front exterior panel faces the right side of the back exterior panel. Now push this D-ring down. Place the top edge of the zipper and align it against the drawn 1/4 inch line. Now make sure to also align it at the center mark point, like this. Secure the panel in place. We're so close, you guys. We are almost there. Since I'm going to be starting to sew from this corner, I'm going to prep my zipper slider as well. So I'm going to slide the zipper. Now take it to the sewing machine and sew a line across at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Next, you're going to take the interior panel with the slip pocket and place it face down. So basically the interior linings should be facing right side together. Again, I'm going to sew starting from this corner, going across this way. So I'm going to unzip the zipper first. Align the top edge of this interior lining against the top edge of this complete panel. If you modify the pattern earlier so that the slip pocket panel is towards the front of the bag, then for these steps, you will use the other interior lining, the one without the slip pocket. Now we're going to sew a horizontal line across at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now take the panel and flip it like a booklet so that each exterior panel has an interior panel right behind it, like that. Now, temporarily secure this in place, aligning all the pieces along the edges and the sides. The point of this is just to top stitch on the other side. See, this side we already top stitch, so we're gonna top stitch this side. So my way of aligning is I usually add a clip at the bottom. I will add a clip here to hold this D-ring in place so it's not in my way when I sew. And then I'll also add another clip here. Then top stitch across here at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Again, a reminder to make sure this D-ring faces this way. And because I'm going to start from this corner, I'm going to pre-slide the slider backwards. Once you finish top stitching, make sure your zipper is fully unzipped. This bag is designed to use the turning out method, also known as backing out, because I just like how clean the seam looks after you do that method. So that's why we have to keep the zipper open, because this is where we're going to reach inside and turn the bags right side out at the end. If you do not have the zipper unzip here, what will happen is that you will get to the next steps and then you can't turn the bag right side out. The only way to fix that is you have to seam rips to the steps, then you gotta redo all your stitches. So to prevent yourself from wasting some time, just make sure your zipper is unzipped. I had made that mistake so many times, and there's so many hours of seam ripping. You gotta take the exterior panel and align with each other. This pocket go with this, and the interior panel and align with each other. Now for this part where the seam is, because we have that 1 inch gap, you don't have to really worry much. You just have to align the exterior panel together and the interior panel together like that. If you've done this well, let's say you sewed the panel really well, your edge here, this white edge here, should align with this white edge here. Seam allowance should also align, but I know it's very difficult, so it's okay if you don't. No one's gonna see it. It's not that big of a deal. It's just a little tips I have in case you want to make your bag very professional. Okay, clip it in place. Now you also want to lay it so that this pocket here doesn't bunch up, because we're gonna sew along here, so we want to lay it flat. Take your time at this step and align every single side and edges. Just spend some time here. The better you align this, the better the bag will look. The exterior panels are together and the interior panels are together. We can take this to the sewing machines and sew a line across the edges, the side edges, okay? At 1/2 inch seam allowance. When you get to this part, remember how I told you the zipper tab is 1/2 inch inward? When you sew this part, you should not have a problem, because I had designed this bag so that the zipper tabs is inward about 1/2 inch seam allowance. Since we already finished sewing every part that is close to the zipper, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the zipper foot. To be honest, I'm not really a fan of using a zipper foot for sewing. I like my regular roller foot. Once you sew both the sides already, now we're going to sew the bottoms. Now for the bottom, on the exterior panel side, you're going to sew a line across at 1/2 inch seam allowance. For the interior panel side, you're going to sew 1/2 inch across, but you're going to leave a gap big enough so that you can reach your hand in and turn the back right side out. I'm just going to mark very small, about 4 inches. Boxing the corner is what adds structure and volume to the bag. Now what you do is you take your seam like this and split it open. You want to split it open like this, and the same on the other side. Fold it in such a way that look like this. Temporarily clip this in place, and you're going to take it to the sewing machine later after you do all 4 corners and sew at 1/2 inch seam allowance. Make sure to spread both seam like this so that it's lay flat in the side of the bag. Do the same for the other side. Let's take it to the sewing machine. Okay, we have only 2 steps left. We're so close. Once you box all the corner, reach your hand through the gap that you made earlier and pull the back right side out. Now, as you go through the back, you're going to feel where you have the zipper unzip. So you're going to go through there, grab it from the exterior side, and pull it out. I inadvertently make the hole too small for my hand, but it's okay. I can do this. I have small fingers, so it will work. Make sure you poke out all the corner really well, and you could definitely use a tool to help you, but I never have problem poking out corners in a crossbody bag. I'm just going to use my finger and poke out all the corner really well. And now, if you did a 1/2 inch seam allowance perfectly at this top corner, when you turn this part inside out, it will be so easy like butter. I didn't do a good job at this corner here. Let's see the other side. They gotta be one good corner so I can show you guys. See how easy that is? When you do a good seam allowance along the edge, the zipper tab should just pop out like that. See that? There should just be a very tiny hole. Although you can see here, I didn't perfectly align them. And then what we need to do last is to close this gap. So like we did before, where we already have sewn this part, we just follow the same fold and just close the gap at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And that is literally it. All we have to do now is poke this lining back inside. Just make sure you poke out all the corners. Oh my gosh, look how adorable this is. Then we're gonna add the adjustable strap. And there you have it, a nice crossbody bag, you guys. It's so darn cute. And the best thing about using a D-rings to attach straps is that you can change the straps out to any color you want. If there's anything you see that I can improve on through this whole series, please leave me a comment down below. I would love to hear your feedbacks and improve my sewing skill. It's a learning journey. Hope you have fun, and as always, enjoy wearing your bag, going grocery shop with it, and see you next time for another sew along series. Bye!